Oh, hey there. This is Attempting International Recipes, and in this episode, I'm attempting to make a Swedish princess cake. Chef May, get your paws off. Alright, so I've actually had a Swedish princess cake before in Sweden. We went to Sweden a few years ago. I made a playlist, Swedish Travels, be sure to check it out if you haven't. And we went out to a place in Gamla Stan to get fika and tried the Swedish princess cake. We had heard about the cake on the Great British Bake Off and we're like, oh my gosh, we have to try the Swedish princess cake. So we go out, we're in, one of the fika cafes of Gamla Stan. We get it, we get some very dark coffee with it too, and I hated it. I absolutely hated the Swedish princess cake. We potentially went to a bit of a tourist trap to have it. I will say that. It was in Gamla Stan, it was absolutely jam-packed, definitely like potential tourist trap area. The cake overall was like sickeningly sweet, and that was partly the marzipan coating that is on it. That was just so marshmallowy and sweet. I just couldn't take it. I like dessert. I actually do have a pretty good sweet tooth, but the one we had just wasn't really well balanced. It was all sweet and no tart, which I have a theory that wasn't a good representation of the Swedish princess cake. My understanding is it's supposed to be sweet, creamy, and then it has that tart raspberry filling that is just delicious. So, I have searched the internet to find a recipe for this. I am a little scared because, like I said, the first time I heard about this, I think, was on the Great British Bake Off, and there were people on the Great British Bake Off who absolutely failed at making this cake. I don't know why I think I can do any better, but for better or worse, here we are making a Swedish princess cake. Alright, it's me from tomorrow. I'm gonna jump in front of my previous very optimistic self and say, this cake ends up taking me 2 freaking days. It's a marathon. If you plan to make a Swedish princess cake, budget to have a project manager because it's a logistical nightmare. Yesterday I forgot to say too, the whole premise of this series is I am not a professional chef. I am a normal person just trying some highly complicated international recipes, and that's why this princess cake has taken me 2 days. I'll let you get back to my previous very optimistic self that feels somewhat confident in this cake. Now let's talk about the history of the Swedish princess cake. According to my favorite source ever, Wikipedia, the original recipe first appeared in the 1948 Prinsessornas cookbook. I completely butchered that pronunciation, but I absolutely cannot pronounce Swedish words. The cake was originally called Gran Tarta, which meant green cake, but the name was eventually given to be princess cake, because Swedish princesses were said to have been especially fond of the cake. I actually went to the Swedish royal palace. You could definitely see this fairly ornate cake in that very ornate palace. I'm really hoping this one turns out a lot better than the one I had in actual Gamla Stan. So let's get to it. I have gone on to the blog of Cecilia Talone to get this recipe. I try to get recipes that are actually from the country when I search for these. I oddly enough had trouble finding a Swedish blog that had this recipe. This particular blog, the woman who runs it was a baker in Stockholm at one point. I'm hoping that it's an authentic version. I think it will be based on her expertise in baking and everything. So let's get to it. So there are actually about 4 different sections of this recipe, and right off the bat I'm a little terrified because this is a pretty intense and long recipe. There's marzipan, raspberry jam, pastry cream, cake, and the assembly, which takes another cream. So let's get to it. First things first, We're gonna be making the marzipan. In a food processor, combine 400 grams of almond flour and 300 grams of powdered sugar. Mix until powdered sugar is evenly distributed and the almond flour is slightly finer. Add 1 egg white and mix. Add a touch of almond extract. Optional, but adds flavor. I do think this is an authentic recipe because all of it is done by weight, and for the most part, European baking recipes tend to do things by weight as opposed to by volume. So instead of saying, you know, you need 3 cups of this, this, and this, you're gonna have stuff that's in grams. I'm debating if this food processor is large enough. That's gonna be pretty tight. I need the bigger one. We already need more powdered sugar. We'll have a brief intermission while we go get that. I might see if there's another part of the recipe I can get done while someone goes and runs to the store to get that. Probably could do the jam at least. All right, while they go and get some powdered sugar, we're gonna make the raspberry jam. In a pot, combine 250 grams of raspberries and 200 grams of sugar. Heating carefully, bring it to a simmer. Simmer about 10 minutes, stirring often. Test jam consistency on a frozen plate. We may or may not do that. We're gonna see if it looks decent. If jam thickens, turn off heat. Add lemon juice to taste. Pour the jam into a heat-proof container and refrigerate. All right, let's get started with this then. Put this in the pot. All right. 200 grams, normal sugar. Damn, I poured that perfect. 200 grams, all right. Bring to a simmer, heating carefully. All right, we're gonna put that at about halfway temp. All right, let's give this a taste. Oh, that's good. I have my hopes up. Looks like we are all done. This one's not hot. I can put this on here. Now they say add lemon juice to taste. I'm gonna start with this. Just close to about a teaspoon. Put that in. While we were making the raspberry jam, magically more powdered sugar arrived at the house as somebody pulled in a favor and grabbed me some. All right, we've got about 190 grams in here already. Let's add the remaining, how much is it? It's about 100 grams, 110 grams that we need. All right, let's add this in. Try and get it all in, actually. Oh, okay. I think this is maybe the fullest I've ever had this food processor, which does make me a little nervous. Mix until powdered sugar is evenly distributed and almond flour is slightly finer. Okay, that's evenly distributed. We're good. It's a little finer. I think we're looking good. Add in 1 egg white and mix. All right, I do have chickens, so we have a fresh egg that I can use for this. I'm gonna get a slightly larger one. All right. Let's really test out my skills and see if I can separate an egg correctly. This is probably a good time to mention that if you've never been to this show before, the point of this is I am not a professional chef. I am kind of just winging it in here. I know how to cook, but I'm not like a professional pastry chef or anything fancy like that. I am just like you. All right. I have a feeling I'm supposed to save this yolk. So I'm gonna that's the egg white in. And then I'm gonna put the yolk just in here. All right, got my egg white in. Mix, add a touch of almond extract. I'm not gonna add almond extract. I don't have it. Have that, mix. Okay. Scrape the sides, add a second egg white. Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, this is definitely gonna need a little more to keep it together. No shell, no yolk. I'm supposed to mix till a homogeneous dough forms. All right, let's scrape this down. It's definitely getting dough-like. I will say this is the first time I've ever made my own marzipan. I'm gonna guess it's gonna need it's just gonna add a bit of water to get it to clump together. Okay, we have got a cohesive dough for sure. I'm supposed to separate some out, and you dye a small bit of it pink to be the rose that goes on top. That's plenty. Okay, that's gonna get dyed pink. This is like a Christmas miracle in May. I have a bit of almond extract, so I will put a cap of that in. Okay, I have my green and pink food dye. Let's put the green in. It's kind of like a pastel green. I'm gonna start out light. All right. Come out. Oh my God. Ooh. It's the blade. It's not as sticky as I thought it would be. This is actually going far smoother than I thought it would. There's a lot of dye in this, and it's not really changing color. I mean, it's not a white dough to start with. It's like this tan color. This is definitely gonna need more. And that's looking like the color that I've seen these. I don't know if you can see that. There you go. Already, I think I'm gonna like this cake more than the one I had in Gamla Stan. Based on what the marzipan tastes like, it's much more nutty and it's not nearly as sweet as the other one was. All right, time to dye the little rose pink. Okay, that might have been too much dye. We're gonna have like a blood red orange, it's fine. Or blood red, we're gonna have like a blood red rose, it's fine. It's definitely vibrant. Definitely. Oh, and this is a good time to mention I'm wearing a apron from Gamla Stan, actually, for good luck, I guess. We're moving on to the next part, pastry cream. Bring 500 grams of milk and a scraped vanilla bean, seeds and pod to a boil. I'm putting vanilla extract in this. I didn't get a vanilla bean. Okay, this is sounding like this is the hardest part. All right, I am trying to get the majority of my ingredients ready here. I have only 30 grams of egg yolk from the 2 eggs before. I am gonna put, gosh, how do I wanna do this? I need another bowl. Okay, there's 1 egg yolk. That got us up to 54 grams. I need 120 grams of egg yolk. 74 grams. This is really putting my egg separating skills to the test. 96 grams, hopefully just one more egg. I really hope. 116, that's gonna have to be close enough. We need 100 grams of sugar. 50 grams of cornstarch. I'm gonna run out of bowls to put this stuff in. 25 grams of butter. Okay. And last but definitely not least, we needed the 500 grams of milk. 0. This is gonna be a party. Okay, so I'm gonna heat the milk, and then in a bowl, the rest of this is combined, I think. Okay, got the bowl. I'm gonna go ahead and put all this in and then heat the cream. All of this is in the bowl. All right, we're gonna heat the 500 grams of milk, and then I'm just gonna put like a capful of vanilla extract in here. They called for a bean. And a little bit more maybe. I think the beans are pretty strong. I didn't have a bean. What does it say to heat this at? I'm gonna put it on as low as possible. Bring it to a boil. A full-blown boil, okay. Get my IKEA utensil in here. Maybe it can give me my Swedish magic I need here. This gets intense after this, because temper the egg mixture with the hot milk, whisking continuously. So what that's saying is I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna put it in that bowl and we're gonna mix it continuously. Do that. It doesn't say to what point, just do that. Then return the mixture to the pot and bring to a boil, stirring continuously. So we're gonna temper it in there. So what they mean by temper it is add little amounts so you don't cook the egg. And so, oh God. I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna return it to the pot, bring it to a boil, which somehow isn't gonna cook the egg. Boil a minute until thick and glossy, remove from heat, add butter, stir until combined, strain the cream, and refrigerate until cool. Jeez. That definitely thickens the milk. There we go. All right, it's in there. Gonna start by whisking. Get it whisking. And I think the secret's gonna be adding a very small amount at a time. Temper, mix, put back on, and return to a boil, stirring continuously. Let's go. What the f? There's no way this is right. I mean, I'm thinking it should be creamy, and we got bubbly and foamy. Maybe boiling it's gonna bring it back to some form of sanity. Maybe they didn't mean electric whisk. Maybe they meant like fancy pastry chef with buff arms whisk. Bring to a boil, stir continuously, boil for a minute until thick and glossy. Get the hell out of here, Bubbles. Take it off the heated part even. Ooh, it's looking a little lumpy. I'm getting them lumps out. Get those lumps out. That is thick, creamy, and I think that's right. Oh my God, that's delicious. I wonder if is this just pudding? I mean, when they say strain it, this is not coming through this. No. Okay, this is a nightmare. I mean, I guess there's no lumps, because no lump would make it through this. And we're back with day 2. Essentially, I read the recipe through last time you saw me and was not feeling like baking this cake. This cake part gets pretty complicated with having to essentially double boil the batter. So what I did was I made the marzipan, the jam, and the pastry cream yesterday. They have been refrigerating overnight, which actually is kind of helpful for this cake because they have to be cold for the assembly and they all thicken if they're actually cold. And so they've been in the fridge overnight. I'm feeling like I might have to reanimate that marzipan a bit. But we're on to making the actual cake now. Prepare a 9-inch cake pan, 23 centimeter, because this is a European recipe, which is a 9-inch cake pan. I popped a little bit of parchment paper in there, buttered the entire thing. I refuse to lose at this state. I have successfully made this pastry cream, the jam, the marzipan. I'm not having this cake not come out of the pan. It has been buttered to hell and back to get it out. All right, and then this is where it gets a little complicated and we're gonna have to go to that side of the kitchen. All right, I have you on top of a pan on my stove, kind of away from the heat. Now over here, I have some water. I have some water simmering. This recipe calls for me to essentially prepare the batter over here, mix it a bit, and then it has to be mixed over this pot till it's 170 degrees, I think. 130 degrees Fahrenheit, which, like, should I stick a meat thermometer in for this? I honestly don't know. I have a candy thermometer, maybe that would work. I'm gonna do the meat one just because the candy one's like an actual glass thermometer. We're gonna work with our meat thermometer here. Okay, so I mix it all in here, I transfer it here, get it to 130 degrees, then I put it back on this stand mixer, whisk until it's light and fluffy, gradually fold in and sift 140 grams of flour, fold in 66 grams of melted butter, and then pour it into the pan and bake it for 20 minutes. I believe in me. I think I can make this work. I'm also a little panicked about this transfer back and forth, but also like potentially cooking the eggs while doing this. And that was the other thing. I had to stop this last night because it requires 220 grams of egg and then 88 grams of egg yolk, which that's a crap ton of egg. I think that's gonna be close to 10 eggs used in the end. I'd run out. I had to go get some at the store. I was not about to go do that last night. I was so done with this cake. I've got my iced coffee with me because there's no way I'm finishing this thing without a decent amount of caffeine in me. All right, I guess the first thing I need to do, you get this scale out again. Let's get this 140 grams of flour sifted. We're using this for sifting. Okay, 220 grams of eggs, which to me sounds like it includes the whole egg. They're not saying egg white, they're saying egg. Okay, 160. $220. Okay, that was a big one, that last one. Thankfully, this is at $221 with those 4 eggs, so cool. Now for how many yolks? 88 grams of yolk. That's probably 4-ish yolks? I don't know. Okay, got that in. Got everything measured. We're doing good. 88 gram of egg yolk. Okay. 140 grams of sugar. And it says to, in a stand mixer, whisk. I have the whisk attachment. I have wondered throughout this recipe if whisk means to truly like whisk like quite a bit, get some air in there, or if it means just like combine. We're gonna find out. We're gonna just whisk this. I'm gonna essentially get it to be combined. All right, fun fact, the only whisk I think we have is a detached like whisk component from a mixer. So that's gonna be interesting. Let's get my meat thermometer over here. We're at 50 degrees. I'm gonna start whisking. Turn it down slightly as we're approaching the temp. 135. Jesus. 137. We're looking for 140. 140. 130. Okay, 140. We're done. Transfer, whisk until light, fluffy, and just warm, no longer hot. Okay. Step. It's time to sift in, what does this say? Gradually fold in 140 grams. Fold in or whisk? Sift and fold, okay. Okay. Gradually fold in. They said do the butter in 2 goes, so there's 1 go. Here's 2 goes. Here you go, you can see. We're gonna put this in the oven. It bakes for 20 minutes. Pour into cake pan, bake for 20 minutes and let cool completely. All right. Alrighty, we got 1 minute left on the cake timer. May. Nope. We got 1 minute left on the cake timer. We're gonna get it out. I think I'm gonna try and get it out close to immediately, like out of the pan, because it needs to cool pretty quickly. I don't know, I don't wanna make it fall though. We're gonna find out. That is gorgeous. I'm gonna quickly cut around. Oop, took the mic out. Classic. That definitely went down my shirt more than it should have. All right. Let's, moment of truth. Oh, it did it. It actually came out. I was worried because that was not peeling off easily. It's an uneven cake, but whatever, it came out. The parchment paper, let's see if that peels off now, because I buttered the top of this parchment paper too. This is the cake from hell, okay? Probably guessing it's gonna be an hour of cooling at least, so see you in a bit. Are you ready to assemble a cake? This is the only knife I have that I think is long enough to actually slice this in 3 pieces, so we're prepared. All right, the first thing I need to do, I need to weigh out 500 grams of heavy cream. So I'm supposed to whip this until soft peaks form. I'm gonna just go pop this on the mixer for a bit, and I'll be right back. We have our soft peak whipped cream. Over the piece de resistance. the actual cake. I'm going to assemble this on this cutting board because I have a cake stand, but it has a lip. And because of the marzipan, I'm a little nervous about that. So I'm gonna pop this back on here. I'm gonna roll out this marzipan first, just from a logistics side of things. I might just roll this onto this even. Okay. That was a thing. So now let's get into making what's called diplomat cream for this. Okay. We whipped the heavy cream, soft peaks, mix about half a cup of the pastry cream with 2/3 of the whipped cream. So I need to take 1/3 of this whipped cream. I'm just gonna store it in here for now. 2/3 of this, and then half a cup of the pastry cream. This stuff tastes like the best pudding you've ever had in your life. Okay, this doesn't look stiff enough to hold its shape with what has to happen with this cake. I am gonna go whip it and hope it saves it. Because this is kind of runny. All right, here we go. This is gonna be stiff enough. Because you have to use this to form it into the dome that a princess cake's normally in. Reserve leftover whipped cream. I feel like we're gonna have to whip that again because they said just soft peaks and that's not how this is gonna work. Okay, there we go. That's got enough structure. That's the part I got this for. I'm supposed to cut this razor thin cake into 3 layers. This is the only knife long enough to make it through the entire cake. I do not have a wire cutter. I mean, this thing at some points is like 1 inch thick. It's domed. Let's just go for it. No, doggies. All right. Okay, that worked. Thankfully, this cake has a lot of structure to it. It's a fairly firm cake. That is a thin layer. Okay. Dogs are eyeing this oh, this is the opportunity. She's super concentrated. Okay. Oh, the knife is tilted, and so that's a half a layer. That is what it is. I mean, I guess I could try to shave some. No, I'm gonna make that worse if I try. This is where we're at, and this is where it's staying. Okay. I think we should be happy that we got this far. Spread raspberry jam over the bottom layer. Evenly spread this around. Now, from what I remember, princess cake tasting this really kind of carries it. If you don't have enough of this jam, you don't have a princess cake. Place a layer over the raspberry jam. We have our crop layer. You know what? This is gonna be the top layer. What do I do now? Place cake and spread pastry cream on it. So that's this stuff, but do I need more pastry cream later on? No, okay, so I'm excited. I think there's gonna be some leftover pastry cream, and this is a bomb. To be quite honest, this is the tastiest part of this cake. Now, I'm being generous with my fillings here. because this cake's dense, like really dense. I don't want it to be like slipping and sliding though, so I think that's where we're at with that. Oh no, look at all this extra pastry cream. Okay. Over the pastry cream, pile the diplomat cream, which is the whipped cream and pastry cream mixture. That's this stuff. And then I'm supposed to turn this into a dome. Okay. Oh Lord. So here's like cream on top of pudding. You can imagine how easy that is to spread. Let's start getting that dome by, I'm gonna pile it in the middle to get that dome. Place the last layer of cake over the diplomat cream. Press it to hold the dome shape. I am definitely not gonna press it because that'll press all of the filling out. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna put it here and like tap it in. And then, yeah, that's the spot that did not cut evenly. I don't know why they said to reserve the whipped cream. They never use it later. Weird. Okay, now I'm supposed to just put the marzipan over. I feel like, personally, I feel like this should probably have the whipped cream on top. All right, I'm gonna take a wild guess that I'm supposed to put the whipped cream on top of this because I don't in Sweden recall it having cake touching marzipan. I recall it kind of having a bit of a mountain of whipped cream between the marzipan and the cake. And this will also help me kind of fix my little boo-boo over there. I have a feeling that the recipe just potentially left this out. I've got my marzipan over here, which may or may not have stuck to itself. There we go. Just the cream instantly like escaping out the sides. Oh gosh. I wonder if the chefs in Sweden lick their fingers as much while making these. I would kind of hope not. Only my family's eating this. Oh my god. But hey, the vision's coming together. I'm just gonna kind of like press it down. Oh no. We're gonna cover that boo-boo with the rose. Supposed to cut off the excess. Now, I got my pink marzipan here, which I made like actually hot pink. Oh great, it's still got seeping dye. This thing. I wonder if I mix some green and if that'll just make it muddy. It probably would. All right, I'm gonna turn this into a rose. Y'all are gonna see. I don't know what the deal is with this red dye, but it's made this very sticky. Okay, place that there, and then it's a Swedish princess cake. You guys think I should go on the Great British Bake Off now? It's together, it's a cake. I mean, I don't think I've given anyone food poisoning with it yet. No one's tried it, but it's a cake. I can't tell you how happy I am to be done with this. At this point, I don't even know if I want to eat it because I'm so sick of seeing it. It's been one of those things that you cook and it's taken so long that you kind of despise it. But this is Swedish princess cake. I'm gonna have some fika, I'm gonna make some coffee, and I'm gonna cut a piece into this. All right, we're here, finally here for the final shot with this cake. I have my black coffee, which from what I remember is a must with the Swedish princess cake because it's a pretty sweet cake. I'm debating if I really want to use this knife. Probably not. I'm gonna use this for actually cutting into it. This is the moment. Let's get the reveal. Oh, Jesus. Okay, you know what? It's cake. It's cake. I'm gonna slide this onto here. Get you that little close-up of the slide on. You know, it's cake. It's cake, okay? The piece kind of started falling apart. All right, let's get our second slice in here. You know, I think this one's turning out a little bit better because it's not that first cut in. Okay. Okay, look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Everybody look at that. I made a Swedish princess cake. I'm gonna have the prettier slice though. She can have the other one off camera. Okay. Look at that. This cake has taken over 24 hours, I think, at this point. Close to it. This one is so much better than the one I actually had in Sweden. The marzipan. So the marzipan on the one I had in Sweden tasted like hyped up marshmallow. Like, it was way too sweet. This has a nutty flavor and it's a little sweet. It has that classic almond nutty flavor. This is delicious. I thought I hated this cake. I think this recipe, as much of a marathon as it was, has redeemed this cake for me. And the cake itself, here's a layer of the cake. It is thick enough that it has a nice structure, but it's not being soaked by the filling. Oh my God. I actually love this cake. Oh my God, that's perfect for fika. The other one, you had to have coffee to even bear how sweet it was. This one, you don't have to have the coffee. I'll have it because I like it. But I made a Swedish princess cake and it's delicious. Be sure to like and subscribe to the Fruit Salad Social YouTube channel for more international travel fun content. Apparently now we're a baking show because people are liking this series. I've gotten quite a few subscribers from it. I hope you guys enjoyed watching me make a Swedish princess cake. I really did not think I would successfully complete this one, but I was determined. I did, and it was worth it. I gotta say, I did not think it was gonna be worth it, but this one was worth it. I'll see you next time.